Peace, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. So on this channel we love Paramore. Paramore is our favorite band, or one of our favorite bands. And they're just incredible, and I'm in love with them, and they make me so happy. And I'm so happy that they fell into my lap in 2007. And I've just been a Paramore fan ever since. And one of those main factors of why I continue to stay a Paramore fan is Hayley Williams. Hayley Williams. And I know for a lot of Paramore fans, that's the driving force of our love for Paramore is Hayley Williams. Although I do love the entire band. Shout out to Zach and Taylor. We love you. But for a lot of us, it is those Hayley Williams vocals, that Hayley Williams style, that Hayley Williams driving force of this group, this band. And today is no different. So today we're going to talk about Hayley Williams and R&B. And we're going to talk about Hayley Williams' love for R&B and the new track that Hayley Williams was featured on by an artist named Moses Sumney, who just released a track with Hayley Williams that's absolutely incredible. And if you have not listened to it, you need to run, don't walk, run and go listen to it, because the runs on this track from Hayley Williams, impeccable. So we're going to talk about all of that and more, so check it out. So Hayley Williams, if you don't know who Hayley Williams is, which you should by now, because I've talked about Hayley Williams like a million times on this channel, but also just she's Hayley Williams. Everybody knows who Hayley Williams is. So Hayley Williams grew up in the South, okay? We all know that she hails from Tennessee, close to Nashville and Franklin. But she actually got her start in the South, in Mississippi, actually. And a lot of Hayley Williams growing up was her going to church, was her serving the Lord. And one of the ways that she served the Lord was by going to predominantly black churches, and she learned a lot of her singing from the predominantly black churches that she was attending when she was little.
Music, growing up and kind of course, I went to a church that was like a Southern Baptist church when I was a kid, and it was just the music just would put me to sleep, like
Oh, no.
I mean, just truly. But my granddad was really, he loved Motown and he loved gospel. So I feel like I got a nice education at home from that. And then there was a certain age where I started singing with a friend, and we went around to some different churches in town, and we sang at a couple churches that were predominantly, if not entirely, black. And I felt, again, it's not really something that I think is, it's not even worthy of words. It was just like a feeling of, oh man, I don't have to temper my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to, stand perfectly still and sing some of this stuff. Even if you sing about God or whatever, it's a soul experience.
Right.
And so that was my upbringing with gospel, and I do think that also it just gave me such a love for singers, and like Whitney, when she says like, I rarely listen to people who cannot sing.
Yes, very much so.
I feel like I got such a cool education growing up on like great singers.
I love that. You singing at a predominantly black church or just like around, it tracks so hard.
Oh my
That is-
God. If
yeah.
that could have just been, if that was my life's trajectory, I think I'd have been fine with that.
I love that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's such an explosion of feelings and
Yeah.
connection too. It's really special.
Yeah.
So that really impacted her in a big way when it came to how she sings. And we all can tell, because in many a Paramore song, you can just feel that soulful, churchy, R&B vocal. Another thing I just want to bring up is that she also, while she was in the South, living her South girl life, she learned how to crip walk. Yep. And that's why on stage you see her crip walking a lot and just, doing a lot of like dances like that on stage. And she does it so well. And it never feels appropriative. And we'll talk about that. So growing up in the South, going to these predominantly black churches, hearing these choirs, hearing these beautiful voices, it inspired Hayley. And also, just by listening to the radio, Hayley was very much inspired by the music that she was listening to back then. So, this is like the early mid 90s, right? And what was on the radio at that time? A lot of R&B. And so she was listening to everything from Aaliyah, TLC, Aretha Franklin, everything. Like, she was just listening to R&B all over the place, right? And she was inspired by these artists and these groups. And so that's another way that she kind of trained her vocals from a very young age, was listening to the radio and listening to a lot of R&B music. She was also very influenced by hip-hop. And she talks about in an interview that I'm going to be dropping some clips from, called Black People Love Paramore. And basically she talks about how she had a love for the hip-hop group, the Hot Boys. The one featuring Lil Wayne.
You've mentioned you loved Lil Wayne when you were growing up.
Yes.
What's your favorite Lil Wayne song?
Okay, well, my intro to hip hop as a kid was like Cash Money. So, and a lot of just like,
intro.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like Southern hip hop. And that just time period was so cool. I mean, I feel like I got lucky with what I was introduced to. So it's not even just so much Lil Wayne, but it's like Hot Boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like his verse on like Number One Stunna. And Number One Stunna was probably my favorite song when I played basketball.
I love
yes. So, but it's crazy too, because Lil Wayne was so young. And I was like a kid from Mississippi that knew in the back of my head I wanted to do music someday. I was like, well, he's tiny and he's doing this shit. It's got to be possible.
Definitely.
So even though I knew that was not going to look like my career at all, it gave me some sense of hope. I feel like that's why I probably have brought him up before.
Yeah.
But anyway, Number One Stunner though. I mean, I know it's not a Lil Wayne song, but the feature
is to me. So
yes,
absolutely. I feel that as well.
And she was very influenced by hip hop. She was very influenced by R&B. And she said it wasn't until she finally got to Franklin, after her and her mom left, Mississippi to leave her father. They came to Franklin and she met people like Zach and other people. And they kind of hipped her into the whole alternative, indie, pop punk, and emo world, right? And that's when she started to get really into this world and start to love it. And if you know anything about the origins of Paramore, you would know that Paramore actually started as a funk group. Now, they weren't called Paramore, I don't think, at the time, but that's kind of the origins of Paramore, because her and Zach and a few other people were in a group together and they did funk covers. And it totally tracks for the trajectory of where Paramore would go, but she was really into that too. And so obviously we know Paramore and Hayley Williams as doing, the emo and pop punk thing, with her and the band's albums from the mid 2000s. And that's great, but it was obvious, especially on songs like All I Wanted, which the vocal on All I Wanted is something that haunts me daily in the best, most beautiful way. Because for a long time, if you know anything about Hayley, she was not willing to replicate that note live. And so it wasn't until the last maybe year and a half that she started to actually do the song live. And she just sounds as incredible, if not. And that song was kind of my indication when I was, a teenager in the 2000s listening to Paramore. I listened to Paramore, and Brand New Eyes was the album that this song came off of. And, at the time, you're just listening to it for the pop punky and emo stuff, and that was really big at the time. And, we did have artists, bands, singers from these bands, like a Patrick Stump, who was doing the whole soul voice thing because he just had it going on. But Hayley was another one. Hayley was another one who just had it, and I don't think I really I knew she was singing it down, but I didn't really take into consideration that these were giving vocals until I heard All I Wanted. And then I was like, oh, so this is on a different level. Then comes Self-Titled Record. And obviously we know that Ain't It Fun is on that record. But Self-Titled in general, although it is kind of a poppy record, it still has its rock roots. It still has that alternative vibe. But really, deep down, it does start to become a little bit more funky on that record. And you can kind of see the seeds of where Paramore is today planted firmly on the Self-Titled record. And so, of course, you have the song Ain't It Fun, which is one of the best Paramore songs literally ever. The choir, okay? Hayley's voice, okay? The whole thing. She was eating down. And I know she was having so much fun with that choir because that was something that she grew up around, right? And so she was able to mold her voice to this choir, this black choir that was eating on this track, by the way. She was able to mold her voice around it because that's what she grew up listening to.
So that was 2013 when that record came out. And that was also the first album that Taylor and I started writing everything kind of as a duo. But for this record, it was just Taylor and I. And Taylor and I grew up, I think out of everyone in the band, we grew up listening to just generally more music that was groovier. And that's not really excluding Zach, because Zach was a drummer, so he was always kind of magnetized towards groove and stuff. But as far as being primary songwriters, it was the focus kind of tilted. And it wasn't so much about trying to stick into one particular style of music. It was how do we push the margins of this a little bit and also infuse what we really enjoy, which was kind of dancing and bobbing our heads in this way. Songs like That's What You Get, How to Groove to Them, and other songs that on prior records. So Self-Titled had more of that. Ain't It Fun was part of it. I'm a really big fan of New Jack Swing type beats. And so anytime Taylor will give me something swingy, it sort of sends my writing brain into this other space. And then of course we asked a local gospel choir from here in LA to come and sing on it. And that was my first time since living in Mississippi being able to be in the room with a bunch of black singers, people who just, that is their every single day.
Yeah.
Harmonies, technique, all of it. And I just was geeking out so much. I feel like something in us really came alive on that record that we hadn't gotten to previously show.
And hearing a lot when she was younger. And so then you have Ain't It Fun, and even the topics on the record, very, very much giving. And it's just the whole thing. And so I was like, okay, I see you, Hayley. I see you. If All I Wanted didn't cement it for me, clearly Ain't It Fun was going to, right? And so I was here for it. I was like, okay, we are so here. I am living for this, okay? And so then a few years later, after a whole bunch of Paramore drama and just lots of things that needed to be healed, Paramore come back. They're a new kind of band, and they kind of are this threesome, and they're beautiful. And they bring us After Laughter. And After Laughter is probably one of their most funky, groovy, depressing though, but also just the grooviest record I think Paramore has ever put out. And I hear a lot that that's one of a lot of people's favorite records. And I actually don't blame them, because it is one of their most funky. It is one of their most groovy. It is one of their most danceable, like the whole thing, like, and not to say that their other records didn't have these kind of songs on there, right? Because I talked about Self-Titled, and Self-Titled has a lot of those songs on there, like Fast in My Car, and other tracks on that, record that are just danceable and fun and groovy. It's great. Fences from Riot, I consider that to be one of the blueprints of where we are today with Paramore. And I love it. We also have like a lot of records off of a lot of their projects, right? And so when they get to After Laughter, and like the whole record is just like this funk amalgamation of pop funk alternative music, I'm living for it completely, okay? It goes back to their roots as, starting off as a funk band. So it makes sense, okay? So then you go from After Laughter to This Is Why. And This Is Why is kind of an amalgamation of kind of their whole career put into like one record. So like they have the alternative kind of like pop punky sound on there, but they also have like the funkiness. They also have like some pop stuff, and they also have just like here and there and everywhere of the amalgamation of what Paramore is today. And I love it. I absolutely, absolutely love it. Okay. Running out of time. Running out of time. You cannot tell me Running Out of Time is not her telling us that she runs on CP time. Hayley was telling us that she runs on CP time, and you can't tell me anything different. Period. Before This Is Why even came out, Hayley Williams during the pandemic would give us a gift that I don't think she understands was so important for so many of us during that time. So during the pandemic, and I think right before, so they had done After Laughter, and then the band decided to take some time to like take a break and just, do them, and they would come back. And so I think even before the pandemic hit, Hayley was writing music for a solo record. And a lot of people thought, this is going to be the end of Paramore and all that stuff, but clearly Hayley has told you a million times, Paramore is a band, and she loves to be in a band. So she can put out all the solo material that she wants. But to be honest with you, it'll never, ever, ever be solo Hayley ever. So just, yeah. So anyways, she puts out a solo record, and it's called Petals for Armor. She puts it out in 2020. When I tell you, eating on this solo record. Eating. Okay? Now, this solo record, while all the other records that Paramore have put out throughout, their career have always talked about, a lot of stuff that Hayley Williams has been going through, or just the band going through, or just the changes of the band, or all these types of things going on, right? This record right here talked a lot more about Hayley personally. Like, yes, she talks about herself personally on a lot of these records, and these are just things that, like, everybody can relate to, obviously. But this record, Petals for Armor, is where she really dives in to this is my life, and this is what it is. And so, if you didn't know, Hayley Williams actually got married back in, like, 2015, but then she would later get divorced in, like, 2016 or 2017. And so, that's kind of one of the reasons that After Laughter, although being very, very upbeat and funky and groovy, is also extremely depressing, because, hello. But Petals for Armor, I would not want to be Chad Gilbert, which was her former husband. I would not want to be him. Because the way that she dogs this man, iconic. Truly. And if you've never watched her Tiny Desk from that era, you need to go watch it. Because she gives everything during that Tiny Desk. Also, watch the Paramore Tiny Desk that they did for the After Laughter era. Iconic. A lot of people say that Hayley Williams' vocals are even better live than they are in the studio. And now, having gone to see Paramore live, I can attest to the fact that you are correct, because I love live Hayley Williams just a little bit more than I love studio Hayley Williams. So, and so, yeah, she puts out, Petals for Armor. Petals for Armor, incredible record. But here's where she really delves into the R&B era, the R&B vibe completely. Okay? So not just on Petals for Armor, but we'll get to some of the songs on there. But just this era of Hayley. So if you don't know, Hayley during this time was also putting out these things called self-serenades. And they were basically covers of songs or live versions of songs that she just wanted to record. And so she was doing like SZA covers. She was doing like, there was this time where she was just like randomly doing her laundry and she just decided to record. And she was singing an Erykah Badu song. Okay? I was living for it. Okay? So good.
Ooh, hey, I'm trying to decide which way to go. Think I made a wrong turn back there.
So there's that. And then there's actually Petals for Armor. And Petals for Armor, again, is such a good record lyrically, but also the vocals, 10 out of 10. Okay? I'm going to say that a lot, but it's 10 out of 10. And on Petals for Armor, she has some of her most R&B songs that I've ever heard in my entire life. And I live for it. Okay? I remember listening to Sudden Desire for the first time when it first, came out. My jaw was on the floor. And I said, where have you been hiding this? Now, obviously, again, I listened to All I Wanted before. Okay? And I knew that the vocals were there. But Sudden Desire has some kind of, I don't know, but it is so good. It is so good. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. You just have to go listen to it. But the high note, okay? If you love All I Wanted, Sudden Desire is on a whole nother level. I can already hear it in my head right now. It's just like so good. Also, another song on the record that I personally am really in love with and is one of my favorite songs off of her solo record called Pure Love. So R&B and so good. Completely R&B and just so good. And so I highly recommend checking out Petals for Armor just in general. It's a really, really well done record. And then in 2021, she would do a more acoustic version of a solo record. Not really R&B-ish, more acoustic, which is completely fine. Also a really good record called Flowers for Vases. And it's really good, so check it out. But then, after all of that, Paramore and them would decide to get back into the studio. And when they did, I was so excited. And so in 2022, they started doing some live shows. And in their live shows, Hayley's vocals were unmatched. So there's this clip of her at ACL Fest, Austin City Limits. And she is just, I really wish I had been there. I truly wish I had been there because I feel like she was at her best during this. And I don't know how to explain that because she's always at her best. But she was literally at her best during this performance. This is the performance that we see Hayley Williams Crip Walk, okay? And that goes viral, okay? Iconic, okay? We also hear just the soul voice coming out. So there's this clip, and I'll add it in, of Hayley Williams. And she is singing Happy Birthday to Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And when she gets to the last, like, to you, like that, it's giving Whitney Houston. I don't know if she even noticed that, but it's giving Whitney Houston. And I don't even, it blew my mind. Blew my mind. And then there's her on tour. So I got to see her on tour, Paramore on tour, right? For the first time back in 2023 on the This Is Why tour. And listen, I'm just so happy I got to see her live. I'm so happy I got to see the entire band live. I'm just so happy I got to see Paramore live. Dream come true, honestly. But here's something. So during the set, Paramore would do a cover of a Beyonce song, and it's called I Miss You. And it's so good. It's so good.
Words don't ever seem to come out right, but I still mean them. Why is that? It hurts my pride to tell you how I feel, but I still need to. Why is that? I miss you like every day. Wanna be with you, but you're away. Said I miss you, missing you insane. But if I got with you, would it feel the same? It don't matter who you are, it is so simple, a feeling, but it's everything, no matter who you love. It is so simple, a feeling, but it's
Good. So good. I'm floored. I'm speechless every single time. And so that takes us to recently. So Moses Sumney, he and Hayley Williams decided to do a video to a remix that a DJ on TikTok and Instagram did of Paramore, of Misery Business, and he remixed it into an R&B jam. Okay? He took Misery Business and he took I Wish I Never Met You by Carl Thomas, put them together, and it made a smash. And so Hayley Williams and Moses Sumney were hanging out and decided to do a video to this, remix. And so they take one of the comments from the other video. They take one of the comments, and the comment basically said that Hayley Williams would crip walk to this, remix. And what did Hayley do? She crip walked her little self, and it was beautiful and amazing, and I was in love. Not too long after that video went viral, Moses Sumney said, well, guess what? We weren't just hanging out to hang out, even though we are cool and we are friends, because they did actually meet during Fashion Week, actually. I think last year or 2023, I can't remember. But they had met, and she was like, now they're really cool, they're friends and whatever. And so he was like, we're not just hanging out to hang out. Although I love my girl, we're not hanging out just hang out, okay? We got music on the way. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, we doing a duet together, and it's going to be fly. And I was here for it. From the second I heard that they were putting out a song together, I was like, I'm here for it. Then I heard a snippet of it, and I was like, oh, we are winning. We are winning. We are winning. R&B Hayley is coming. And now I've heard the song, and I've been having it on repeat, and I probably will have it on repeat for the next few days because it's just that good, okay? So the whole song is just incredible, okay? The first part is just Moses Sumney on his own, doing his part. And already, because I had not actually listened to Moses Sumney, I did not know that he was an artist. And I didn't put two and two together that he was the same person that she met during Fashion Week last year or the year before. And so once I put two and two together, I was like, oh, I gotta listen to Moses Sumney because he's amazing on his own. Like, just the first part of the song that I was listening to, I was like, yeah, he is eating and I'm in love. So there's that. But then you have Hayley, and she comes in, and they do their little duet part for the chorus. And they do their little part during the chorus, and they just sound so good together, like so good together. And then Hayley goes into her part. There are some runs on this song, and they are so good. Like, I'll just play a little snippet right here so you can hear my girl, but ooh, she was just eating the vocals.
You cover all the zines in my conscious stream, and that's so fucking weak. I got subscriptions.
And then there's this part talking about the streets are saying, and I was like, now, Miss Williams, what streets you talking about, girl? I need to know, because I'll go hang out on them streets too. Except for not really. But if you be on the streets, I'm going to go be on those same streets, because period. But, no, like, it's just too good for words. Too good for words. I just really need you to go check this song out. It's called I Like It. It's incredible. Moses Sumney, featuring Hayley Williams. Listen to the song. But, like I said before, there was this clip from an interview that Hayley did. And it was called, from a podcast called Black People Love Paramore. And the host of the podcast, it's basically a podcast where it talks about things that you normally wouldn't think that Black people would like, but we do, and we're into, and it's, like, great. And so, she talks about things like Paramore and, like, you know, rock music and, like, whatever, or, like, anime, or, like, you know, things that you would perceive as being white people stuff, even though, literally, that's just BS. But, like, you know, whatever. But I like the concept. And so, she got to interview Hayley Williams. And one of the questions she basically asked her was about this kind of music and people, you know, Black people specifically, being into her and her making such an impact in the Black community. And I'll just play the clip, but she gives a really incredible answer. And
so from then on, you know, after Laughter, we talked about it all the time during that record because we spent a lot of time focusing on the Talking Heads. And the Talking Heads have Stop Making Sense, this concert film. And when you look out at their crowd, it's so diverse. And I would just like tear up watching it. And by the end of After Laughter, I felt like our crowds looked like that.
Yep.
And I was like, this is it. I'm living out a fantasy. This is crazy. And it just keeps growing and it keeps expanding. So I'm so thankful, man, too. It's just, there's such a huge part of me that grew up on Black music. Mm-hmm. So to be able to share something that's almost like you can't really even put it into words with the fans that do come to the shows that also feel that and see that. And like Whitney, when she says like, I rarely listen to people who cannot sing.
Yes,
you know,
very much so.
I feel like I got such a cool education growing up on like great singers.
I love that. You singing at a predominantly Black church or just like around, it tracks so hard.
Oh my God. If that could have just been, you know, if that was my life's trajectory, I think I'd have been fine with that.
I love that, right?
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's such an explosion of feelings and connection too. It's really special.
Yeah. And I notice you move around a lot on stage, so that definitely makes sense.
How can you stand still? Yeah. I mean, even some of my favorite singers, like, I mean, I'm thinking about Whitney a ton right now because I just finally watched the I Want to Dance with Somebody film. Mm-hmm. And I felt like she did a really good job kind of encapsulating some of those performances. I don't know everything that went into that film, so I'm a little bit ignorant, but I was thinking about how many moments in Whitney's career that were so explosive vocally, but she was standing kind of still.
So
It's
still.
like, how do you do it?
How are you doing it?
I mean, that's power, because I can't.
Absolutely.
I can't do
Can't
that.
relate. No,
No,
I definitely would be
cannot
moving, truly.
relate.
But I mean, I can't sing at all, so of course I can't relate. Bring it forward to today.
Okay.
Have any Black musicians had you in a chokehold lately in particular?
Okay.
Is there one Black music artist that you would love to collab with?
Oh, okay. Well, it's been SZA for a long time.
Okay.
Because I love her voice, and I just feel like, but also, oh man, there's too many, to be honest with you. Because I was saying recently to someone, because we grew up in the scene that we grew up in, I rarely get asked to do features for things that I feel like really get down to my core.
Yeah.
So I'm still like keeping my eye out for whether that be new artists or, you know, maybe it's older established artists, but probably people who do groovier shit. Like
Yeah.
Something that I can sink down into a little bit, instead of having to just be, I guess, the misery business version of myself that I'm
Fair.
sure a lot of people, that's what they probably want when they want the feature. But anyway, yeah, SZA has for about 6 years now been the one, and I'm sending the text weekly at this point.
I love it. No, I love that. I saw your cover of Drew Barrymore.
Oh, thanks.
And it's fantastic, of course.
God.
What's your favorite SZA song?
Oh, Garden, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Garden's my favorite song by SZA. But also all of her records just like, there are records you can put on and no skips for me.
Definitely straight through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Consistent.
And I just love Hayley Williams, okay? I love the entirety of Paramore, okay? Because, honestly, we do have to give props to Taylor and Zach, too. Because Taylor York, he's so fine. Taylor York, sorry, Hayley, not to encroach on your man, but, like, let's be honest. If you weren't with him, I surely would be. I mean, if you want to share him with me, I would not object. Taylor York, the incredible, awesome, amazing human being that he is, that saved Paramore more than one time, mind you. He is also really into, like, funk music and stuff like that, and, like, really into, like, soul music and stuff. He also is really into, like, indie music and, like, alternative music and, like, the whole thing, right? But he is kind of the reason that a lot of Paramore music got more funky. And then, of course, you have Zach Farrow. He's incredible. He actually has a band that he is in, another project that he's in. And when Paramore tours, they do some music from that band, which is awesome. And, but the band that Zach is in, which I will put the name of it on screen, also is very, 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 very much a funky, groovy group. They're a band that is very funky and very groovy and very all of those things, right? And so even Paramore getting to do a cover of a Talking Heads song, Burning Down the House, which is one of my favorite Talking Heads songs, it just fits so well with what Paramore has been doing lately. And I don't know what the future of Paramore is going to look like. Whether it's going to be, we're going to go back into our pop punk and emo roots and do real, like, hardcore rock, hardcore punk, hardcore pop punk, emo stuff like we were doing back in the day. Or if we're going to stick with this whole R&B, funk, but still, like, with that pop and alternative vibe to it kind of music. I don't know what the future's going to hold. All I know is I personally really, really need, and Hayley Williams has talked about this 1,000,001 times, every time somebody asks her who she wants to collaborate with, she says it every single time, and that is SZA. And I know Hayley Williams is a big fan of SZA, so what I need from Hayley Williams is for her to finally get on a track with SZA and make all of our dreams come true. I also know that Doechii is a big fan of Hayley as well. She really loved her solo projects, and she really would love to collaborate with her as well. So I wouldn't be mad if that happened as well. Listen. Hayley Williams also did a feature on a B.O.B. I know, haven't heard that name in years, but like a B.O.B. track back in the day during, you know, the height of Paramore in the 2000s. And, you know, we all know it's called Airplanes. And her vocals were incredible there too. So it's just, I don't know. If a hip hop artist wanted her to do a song or do a vocal for the song, I don't know if she would do it, but I would love it. And yeah, but I need Hayley Williams to do more R&B music. I'm sorry. Love emo music, love punk music, love the whole genre, okay? Huge fan. I'm R&B head at heart though, and I just need those vocals over some R&B beats. Honey, that would be a blessing to me. But yeah, go listen to the Moses Sumney featuring Hayley Williams song called I Like It. It's incredible. It's really well done. You're going to love it. And if you're an R&B fan, you're going to love it. If you're just a Hayley Williams lover, you're going to love it. If you're a hardcore Paramore fan, you're going to love it. Unless you're one of those annoying Paramore fans who was like, I was really into Paramore in like the 2000s when they sounded more like rock and like pop punk and like the whole thing. And now they don't sound like that anymore. And I just need them to bring back that music because now their music kind of like sucks. Y'all don't count. Get out the way. If y'all gonna be like that, you need to get out the way and let the rest of us who are true blue fans, who really understand the music and get it, we can stay. But y'all need to get out of here, okay? Period. Get out the way and let us have the music that eats every time. So, yeah. This was my little Paramore, Hayley Williams, and R&B song track review history of Hayley Williams and R&B soul music and just like black stuff, you know, because we don't call Hayley Williams honorary sister for nothing, okay? She's a little light skin. And that's it. But yeah, I hope you like this video. Follow me for more Paramore videos. Subscribe. Check out other Paramore videos that I have. And yeah, I just can't wait to see what Paramore are up to and what they're going to do next. If we're going to get a solo tour from Hayley for her Petals for Armor and Flowers for Vases days, which she did say on her Instagram stories that we possibly were going to get one this year. So I'm crossing my fingers heavily hard to see if we get a tour from her for that, because we were totally robbed of one back in 2020 and 2021. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and you can catch me later with more videos about music, whatever. Anyways, check you later. Peace.